Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ivo Stankov, and I am responsible for the platform engineering initiatives within OMV. Since today is quite the platform theme day, I just couldn't resist the cliche of actually putting one of our real actual platforms on the slide. I've seen it from software companies doing the same thing, so I thought, why not perhaps put one of ours on there. Reminding you that apart from legacy software, there is also legacy platforms, and on them also some heavy duty real platform engineering is happening. But we are not talking about this today. We are talking about our API management platform journey. So going into the agenda, I'm shortly going to introduce OMV, my company, and then go into explaining how we have approached API management as a platform. Then further deeper into the self-service aspects there, and all the way to the concept of the so-called API product owner portal that I would like to point out. Then ultimately closing remarks and Q&A. But a short explanation of what OMV is, as I think the context is important in understanding our design decisions and why we have done something. So OMV is the largest industrial corporation in Austria. It is an integrated chemicals, fuels, and energy company, now focused quite heavily on moving towards a circular economy business model, meaning focusing on sustainable fuels, sustainable plastics, sustainable chemicals in a recycling way. It's Central Europe focused, definitely, but it has quite a global outreach as well. So these are all our locations worldwide. And what I would like you to take away from this slide is that there are 4 different colors on the of the different countries. Doesn't matter what the colors are, but it's important to understand that all of them represent quite radically different business models. So one is chemical, the other one is fuels, the other one is really heavy engineering and exploration. So it's a very heterogeneous company, and honestly, this is one of the best things I like about companies like mine, is that you have radically different business models and things happening with one and the same company, right? So to give you an idea, you start from some highly complex science, geophysical science, geological science, chemical science, through the whole chain of heavy industry, basically, then going into trading, markets trading, banking stuff, through a very extended retail chain, all the way to selling coffee in the gas stations and in the filling stations. So business models that are not really, how should I say, software-oriented or software business models, but all of them depend on heavily, all of them clearly, in a very different way, but still depend on actual digital assets. What I'm trying to get into is that in a company like mine, and taking also its partner ecosystem around it, it makes perfect sense, and it definitely makes sense to embark on the platform model. There is definitely a market for meaningful internal platforms. And this is what I would like to talk about, our API management platform first, and then we move over to some of the aspects of fulfilling this full chain of self-service on the API management platform that we're having. So just a short snapshot, basically, of where we are 6 years after we have started from scratch. And by from scratch, I mean, of course, we had legacy ESB and stuff like this, but not really explicit APIs. So there were just some interfaces, as they were called back then. I would not go into the details, but I can safely say it's been a success. Stuff is actively happening on it. It's growing. And I can claim that the stakeholders and the users are well taken care of. What I would like to focus on in this slide is the size of the API management platform team. And this is actually an exaggeration. That's not always been 4 people, sometimes 3.5 or less, to be honest. And I think this is one of the main points I'm trying to make in saying fulfilling and completing the self-service puzzle, because without this, it would not be possible that 4 people will be able to carry this on their shoulders. And I'll be going into this into more detail in the next slides. So we have really taken the platform aspect very, very seriously from the get-go. Really, from the get-go, we have started with the principles first, with meaningful governance, and then came to the platform implementation or the technical implementation. It was conceptualized as a product from the very beginning and staffed accordingly. And in the beginning, there were some enablement tasks and still enablement team tasks that are being done by the platform team. But we have been really adamant from the very beginning is that it's not going to be a service offering, right? We are not going to offer services, API implementation services, and definitely really very, very important API operation services on this. This is supposed to be done by the ecosystem, by the colleagues that are actually using the platform itself. And it was not easy to do. I mean, this statement, it required quite a bit of a change management approach, to be honest, to make this stick, because stakeholders in the company were used to something very radically different. And yeah, this is a slide from back then, actually, I'm reusing it, when in the early days we were really trying to educate our stakeholders that APIs, really APIs, and also a platform approach really makes sense. And I personally think it was kind of luck that we have a really good metaphor within the company itself for what a platform and an API is. And if we look at the gas station, a filling station, you know, it's business concept, and business-wise, it's completely centrally conceptualized, managed, organized, but the operations themselves and the implementation ultimately themselves are very, very decentralized. It's partly franchised, partly not franchised. It's very, very decentralized. The main aspect here, and what I want to drive with this home with this slide, is that we should look at the filling station, we should look at the API, we should look at the platform from a business point of view. Because we as tech people often kind of lose ourselves in the technical implementation details because we enjoy them. And believe me, a filling station has super exciting technical implementation details as well, but nobody cares too much about them, right? It's the business, they are secondary, super important, but secondary, exactly like for platforms and for APIs. So coming back to our platform approach, our goal was from the beginning, excuse me, to make sure that the platform team knows the platform like the back of their hand, and also know and understand the needs of the users and the stakeholders of the platform. But they shouldn't at all, if possible, really at all be aware of what's going on, what's being implemented, what's been running on it, with, at the same time, the certainty that terrible stuff is not happening without control, and the control has to be built into the platform functionality. So the ultimate idea was that ownership should be where it should be. The ownership for the platform is the platform team, for the APIs and the actual API management should be with the actual API developers, owners, and so on and so forth. And to achieve this, you need to really know who does what and needs what on the platform. And this translates actually to understanding what the personas are and what their needs are. And this is where we are going. As the next step, because I think it's an important consideration, and focusing on personas is not to be underestimating, is what are the relevant personas within an API management context. So can you, from the top of your head, think of 2, 3 personas? I mean, one is clearly around the platform itself, so the product manager of the platform, the devs, the admins, clearly, but who else? App developers, right answer. And this is the easiest answer, of course, because this has been, I guess, figured out very, very early within the API management context, as we have from the very beginning, I would say, of API management. We have had the application, the developer portal, which
I explicitly would like to call client application developer portal, because I think there are other developers as well, but it's called actually always developer portal, that really caters to the client application developers. They're fully enabled there, they have the ownership, and they can do what they need to be doing to create stuff, right? And to be successful. But who gets to create the APIs, and how are these personas actually being empowered? You know, there are also the actual API developers, and the API developers, they're a different breed. Normally, they're kind of internal, at least if you look at our point of view. But nowadays, I would say it's been figured out mostly. It is done through more classical platform engineering approaches, like really good documentation, perhaps a portal with good documentation, a portal with reusable composable CI/CD, custom CI/CD modules that make sure that the the API developers, because they know how, let's assume they know how to develop APIs, but they have to know how to make them API management capable as well, and how to deploy them from dev to test to prod without breaking other people's API, making it multi-tenant on the way, and so forth. And there, it's more or less standard, and I would say figured out. If you're serious about it, this is a screenshot that you're seeing from our internal documentation, where we describe our custom GitOps process that makes sure, and I'm really proud of it, that nobody touches test or prod per hand, and there are no manual changes or test or prod whatsoever. And it's actually possible, and not normal for a company like mine, to be honest. So they're covered as well, right? The tech guys are covered as well. But what we have been really missing is okay, there we are. The business-centric API people, you know, the ones that are actually own the API, that know who should perhaps be using it, that should control all these things, should decide when to expand it, when to make it perhaps depreciate it, and have the full API management lifecycle. And to be honest, honestly speaking, we were missing this completely in our API management solution, and I'm not sure there is such a thing in the other ones explicitly to cover for the needs, for the self-service needs of this group, meaning mostly controlling client access, and this is where we actually started, because who gets to approve a client application subscription request? In most of the API management solutions that I'm aware of, it should be somebody with admin access, you know. And this is not great, because the central team, the 4 people that I mentioned, have absolutely no idea of the business logic of which partner, which internal stakeholders has perhaps requested access. No idea. Perhaps a long email thread back and forth, and then afterwards they would understand each other, and then they'll click on yes. And then we said, this is unsustainable, this is killing our platform team, we cannot continue like this. And this was the starting point, basically, of focusing or deciding to have a self-service portal like the developer portal for these people. And this is where we started. To conclude, and going back to the title of my slide, this third puzzle piece was for us really the completion of being certain that we are offering a platform where we are not a bottleneck as a platform team for operational activities. Everybody that needs to be done what they need to be doing is doing it by themselves, and the API product owner portal is where we came to. It's a website like the API portal, like the developer portal, with some functionalities. And I will go into a really brief overview of how it looks like and what it does. But generally, it's if you're really interested in more details, after the talk, I can show you to you live as well. I will not go into all the details, of course. So, first things first. Sounds logical, but believe me, from a governance point of view and from a large kind of organization point of view, it's not logical at all. Each API product needs to have an owner. And this is a simple statement, but it's not that easy to achieve, if we're honest. And this we have absolutely enforced. You cannot have an API product or an API on the platform published if there is not a dedicated owner. Meaning, this is the only step where actually our platform team needs to see this request. So this is you log in as an API product owner, you request ownership of your API, then the central team somebody has to approve it. From then on, it's really self-service for the API product owner. And what they can do, just an overview, is manage their API product, like adding APIs or removing APIs to the product, definitely controlling access, meaning, as I've said, approving subscription requests, but also suspending them, revoking them, seeing what the backends are. Very importantly, in our kind of enterprise architecture governance area, also providing relevant metadata for each and every API product, the ones you see in yellow. So we have categories here. It's a filtered list. That's why all of them are the same. But we have type of confidentiality, what the backend is, where it is it on-premise, is it on the internet, is it in our cloud, the category. And this is a self-service thing as well, which I think is crucial, because only the API product owners know actually really well what their API product categorization is. Once you have this categorization in, combined with our governance and security rules that have been institutionalized in code practically in the portal, we get this so-called, you see the warnings on the side, that basically based on the inputs there and the requirements for this specific combination of metadata, we have our compliance module that provides feedback and a short and as detailed as possible explanation of what is missing and what is still not there, what needs to be done in order to for the API product owners actually to fix it themselves. Again, the product team does not want to have any calls, emails, question marks, what do I do with my product, and so forth. So the explanation part is really important. And we have good experience with this, I must say. Now, on the, I can continue. There are other functionalities as well, integration with our CMDB and stuff like this, but these are details. I just wanted to give you an idea that, and if we can have a conversation, because I've really been missing this up until now, and I think it's a missing puzzle piece, truly, that we have created by ourselves and are pretty happy with. So going into the closing remarks, the conclusions, like this guy in a tech lab, there is an actual tech lab. He looks as if he has figured it out. We think we figured it out mostly. The point that I'm trying to make is that if the platform, and for the sake of the platform team, but also for the sake of its users and its customers, needs to cover the full requirements for all stakeholder personas. And the API product owners are ones for us. It's been quite successful. The feedback has been positive. No big stress there. And as I said, the platform team is not under heavy cognitive or mental load at the moment. I can state it as their boss. I hope they would agree. But the main I think indicator of this is that they're at the moment really just focusing on Gen AI, and finding out potential use cases for Gen AI, meaning they are not covered with operational stuff to be done. And with this, I'm sorry I was this close of not mentioning AI in a non-meaningful way in the presentation, but didn't manage, unfortunately. Excuse me. And with this, I thank you.